Nicole?
Yeah.
Good. Joe? Everybody can hear on Joe? Facebook? All right. We're going. Is this it? All right, we're live. First seminar here from Big Dog Tackle. Hope everybody's doing good out there with this coronavirus. Everybody's trying to practice social distancing. I think things are looking good out there. Things are starting to calm down. The numbers are dwindling a little bit, and a lot of people have been out there fishing, getting on their boats. You know, a good way to get away from everything, especially the grocery stores and the places that are busy. So, you know, we wanted to get something going here, and who better to bring than Goddess Charters, local charter business. Captain Corey Burlew fishes all types of fishing in local waters and also in the Bahamas. Great captain. I'm going to do a little, show his little flyer here. And also, Mrs. Burlew is here too. They run the charters together. They're awesome. So if you ever want to get out there and learn from the best, give these guys a call. So I'm going to let Captain Corey tell you a little bit about what's going on out there in the waters lately. Being April is typically the best fishing month of the year. All the species tend to be in our local waters, and they like to bite. So even the novice fishermen can get out there and bend the rod a little bit. So Captain Corey's going to work on some techniques on rigging, both dead bait and lures, and even talk a little bit about live bait fishing today. So I'm going to let Corey go ahead and give you a little fishing report. After that, I'm going to go through some events that are coming up through the offshore anglers and locally, and what we're trying to do to both practice social distancing and, you know, have a good time out there on the water. So I'm going to let Corey do a local fishing report.
Okay, guys, everything's been biting. Anywhere from barracuda all the way up to tuna, kingfish, mahi, wahoo, sailfish, bonitas, and everything's been real close, anywhere from 75 to 200 feet of water. So, and there's been a lot of flyers around. Today, for example, there's a lot of flyers, good north current. Water a little dirty, but not bad. And today we did very well. We caught our limit of kings. We had a really big tuna on that took probably half a spool of line out before I ended up breaking a leader, unfortunately. And yesterday, for example, we caught some dolphin, bonitas, kings. I even caught some sailfish throughout the week. So there's been a little of everything out there. And like Trey was saying, they're being aggressive. I mean, kingfish are eating on top, trolling. So it gives you an idea that there's a large school around, and they're very aggressive. So they're hungry. So you guys got to get out there. That's all I can say.
I even had a report from one of our local teams, the Meat Wagon. They said 2 big yellowfins were crashing their kite bait. So that's pretty cool out there too.
Awesome.
I think this time of year they're migrating with the Blackfins as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And maybe working their way over to the Bahamas.
Yep.
Give me a little report about what you're hearing over in the Bahamas right now.
Well, unfortunately, the Bahamas are closed, but if you can get over there has been some big dolphin, especially off like Metanella Reef area, and some yellowfin tunas, and also over by Freeport area. You know, we've been getting a few there when people are getting over there. So maybe this will be a good year for everything kind of relax a little bit with all this coronavirus going on. But if you can sneak over there or whatever, it's been pretty good.
Well, hopefully we get to an environment where we can loosen up those restrictions, and maybe they'll let us back over there a little bit in the Bahamas pretty soon. Because now is a great time to be over there. I think the marlin are biting pretty hard. The yellowfins, even though there's a lot of sharks, I mean, you got to beat those sharks to the tunas. But
yes.
Even over here, I mean, we had 3 hammerheads circling our boat all day. So trying to, I even heard reports of the porpoises were eating baits and fish, and you know, it's tough out there. Everybody's trying to eat, so. Which
is good, because that means there's a big school of kings, whatever's out there, and they're all following around. So that's why everything's just active. And there's, you know, with that being said, you know, like you said, you try to catch these things as fast as you can without getting eaten by sharks or porpoises and stuff like that. But it gives you an idea that there's a lot of life out there.
So you mentioned flyers are out there.
Yes.
Now, let me just ask you a question for the audience out there. What kind of birds for what kind of fish are you looking for?
Okay, so if you see a man o' war bird, typically there's going to be some mahi around. They generally don't follow tunas because they're not quite fast enough to keep up with them. But if they're big yellowfins, they can in a way. But most of the time, they're going to follow the mahi or the sailfish, and bonita sometimes. Now, little white birds that you'll see mostly are on the tunas and small dolphin and bonitas as well. And then if you get a mix between the small white birds and the little brown and white birds, those are always on anywhere from football-sized tunas up to big yellowfins, if there's some around here.
Okay, perfect. And I think Corey's going to get into more detail on what lures and what baits are going to be better for the different species, whether it's tuna, dolphin, maybe even a little wahoo, or even live bait kite fishing. So now I'm going to get into a couple things that's going on in our local neighborhood here. Sean Miller and Brent Miller, they're putting on a tournament series which abides by the social distancing rules, and it's a mini series of tournaments every Saturday. So if you're not a member of the Offshore Anglers of Pompano Beach, you're going to want to reach out, talk to Sean, or even just go to the website, offshoreanglersofpompanobeach.org or .com, .org, offshoreanglersofpompanobeach.org. You can sign up there as a member. There's no meetings going on right now, so either contacting the board or going to the website, you can get involved in these mini-series, and it's actually been pretty fun. What do we have, 23 teams in a tournament last weekend?
21.
21 teams. How many total registered?
26 in the series right now.
So 26 teams in the series. You don't have to fish every Saturday, but you know, it increases your chances. Once you win one time, 16 winners from each week go to a playoff series. So it's going to be like a round robin, just like March Madness basketball. So you're going to get 16 teams competing in the playoffs, and it's going to be one team against one team. It's going to be one-on-one, but there's going to be 16. So there's actually, it's just like March Madness, 8 games going on at the same time. So it's one-on-one once you get to the playoffs. I think it's a great idea, and Sean came up with this, and I think it's a great way to do fishing tournaments. And I don't think anybody's done it that I know of down here. So it's going to be a winner's bracket and a loser's bracket. So if you lose in the first round, you get to the loser's bracket, and it's going to trickle down from there. And then there's going to be a tournament champion. And it's just a great series overall. So if anybody's interested, hit up Offshore Anglers. I don't know of anybody else that's doing tournaments right now. I think everybody's on hiatus with the coronavirus going on. So check it out and have a good time.
Live scoreboard too.
There's also a live scoreboard. So the way the tournament works is, as you're catching fish, you have to submit the video live. And at the end, the tournament results are by length, not by weight. So there's not an actual weigh-in. So everybody goes to their own dock. They measure their own fish with one video to get all the weights to get the total points. So total points based on the size, the length of the fish, not the weight, is how they determine the winner. So pretty interesting.
And they can watch it.
Yeah, and even if you're not in the tournament, you can watch the live scoring online. So pretty cool stuff going on out there. Trying to be innovative with things that are going on and be adaptive to our environment. So really good things. Can everybody still hear out there? Joe, people are good? Cool. All right, so then I'm going to let, if any, you guys have any other announcements going on over here?
You sure you know that question?
Oh, also, anybody that has a question, make sure you post it, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, or Zoom. Post your question, and we'll get it over to Corey, and we'll get it addressed. Also, just hearing things out there in the news, I heard the mayor of Miami say that they're going to open parks and I believe boat ramps on Wednesday. I believe it's Wednesday. So typically when Miami does it, I think all of Broward and Palm Beach are going to do it. So something to look forward to. Things are loosening up. Going to get back to normal. Keep wearing your mask. Stay safe. And I'm going to pass it to Corey.
All right. So I guess what would we like to start with? I guess we'll start with dolphin fishing, because they'll be, as we get into April and into May, the dolphins start showing up, and they usually show up a little bit close to the reef. So typically you can do a couple different things. I always seem like to have a nice lure in the spread. Sometimes the bigger fish will eat a lure, just so everybody can see it. And you get these at Big Dog Tackle. These are actually really nice lures. I got like 4 of them. So with that being single hook on mono, it could be on 60-pound, whatever you like. But I generally try to fish a little bit lighter for around here, because everybody's they're so used to seeing heavy tackle everywhere else. So once they get down here, it seems like they're a little more finicky. So here's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to make a typical like strip rig. First thing you do is basically a 60-pound leader. You know, you can either have a wind-on leader on your rods, or if you have a snap swivel, of course, you have it tied to your main line. You can make a long leader so they're all ready to go at all times. So you can do, you know, whatever knot you like. I use a trilene knot. Or you can use a uni knot or an improved clinch knot, whatever works best for you. But these are trilenes, are usually 100% knot. What's nice about the trilene knot, when you cinch it down, it's really tiny. So I like everything small, so it travels through the water very well. I don't know if everybody can see that, hopefully. It's 100% knot, very tiny. And then, like I said, this is just going to be a basic strip rig, 7/0 hook. Some people like closed, some like open. It does make a difference. But then what I generally do is, let's say you make a, now the reason we got mostly blues and whites is because there's been a lot of flyers around. So a little flashies. Very simple rig. And then what you can do is, you know, if you're gonna have a long leader, just do a perfection loop knot so you can connect it to your snap. So, but if you have a wind on, you can do a double uni knot to the lines. And that's what it's gonna look like when you're done. That way, if you have, like I said, if you have a snap swivel already on there, clip it on, you're ready to go at all times. Now, what's nice about this rig, I'll show you something here. You're probably asking, well, how do you connect the strip on there? I'll show you real quick. I haven't finished up with it. I'll trim it up. This is where it makes it nice. So you got your rig. Get a little piece of heavy Monel. It's usually about 60 or 80-pound Monel. Simply push it through the eye of the hook, leave a little tag like that. Push it down, and all you're doing is taking this, wrap it around, just like this. You can make it a lot easier here, of course. So then, all you have is like that. Here's the tag in. So now what you do is you just bend this up like this. Then, very easy, strip them. You know, if you guys are good at cutting strips, and cut them. If not, then Big Dog Tackle has an endless supply of them, I think. You know, what you do is you measure. Now, I like to go through the shiny side first, because when this bait rides in the water, this acts as a rudder. So your hook's going to be traveling like this in the water, not like this where most people think, because it wants to turn like this. So with that being said, you want the shiny part on front, so when they're looking up, they see the white travel through the water. What you do is you make a hole at the very top, put the pin through, push that down just a little bit like that, measure out your bend of your hook. That's it. Ready to go. Slide down your stuff. And that looks pretty. So now you got your reel. Now you can use fluorocarbon if you want. I just got some mono here, so whatever you guys got. If you want to go a little heavier, 80, you can. I mean, you can generally, if you got big fish around, I would say go up to like 60 at least. But if you're like average like 5-8 pounds like they are sometimes, go up it down to 40 or 50 pounds. You'll get more bites. It's got to be a little easier on the bite department. And then when you get them in the boat, just make sure you gap them with a small quick gap of some sort. Then there's your rig. Now, what's nice about this rig? So let's say you're trolling along there. I'm going to throw this out there as well. If you don't have strips, make the same exact rig with that pin. Just push that pin up, and you don't have to have a bait on there. So now you just have a bug. We call this a bug. And it's ready to go. You control it for tunas or dolphin and sails, whatever else. Again, with that pin there, you can put a bait on, or don't. You don't have any strips, then you can just make that, and it stays the same. It's like a universal rig. You can do two things at once. Like I said, make sure that the hook goes through the skin part first, because that allows the bait, as the fish are looking up, to see it versus just seeing the meat compartment. They'll actually see the bait like this. So we want there's a really typical strip rig, works everywhere, offshore, inshore, on the planers, on leads, way back, whatever. But this rig is a very, very good rig. So then you have in your spread, if you're going to go dolphin fishing, you got one big lure in the middle, okay? One large strip on the sides, or however. You try to go with different size baits. So the next rig I'm going to show you is ballyhoo rig. Now you can either crimp or tie knots, whichever you guys would prefer. I can show you now, but what I'll do is I'll do the crimp because it'll be maybe a little easier for everybody. So all we're going to do is it's going to be actually.
Corey, we have a question.
Yes.
How fast are you trolling for mahi?
Okay, so if you don't have any planers out, you can troll up to 9-10 knots of these kind of rigs, lure and the strips. The faster, the better, because sometimes you'll get the bigger fish versus the small ones. The small ones will try to chase it down and they miss it or whatever. But that's what's nice about trolling fast. You can cover ground. People are always going really slow. I find speed kills. I hate to say it, but they do, and it works very, very well. Okay. Okay, so when you do, I'm gonna do a splasher rig first, very basic. Crimp, line, hook, which is a 7/0 hook. If we're using medium size ballyhoo. Very simple, nothing special. Sometimes you can stiff rig it, wrap it around the shank of the hooks, and that way the hook sits in there, but this is fine.
Hey, Corey,
Yes, sir.
show this camera.
Oh, sorry. Very simple. Sorry about that. Oh, we already got closer to the phone here.
Here, and then I'll retry.
Okay, and now when you crimp, here's the biggest thing people don't realize. You crimp, make sure you crimp the middle of the crimp. For 100% crimp, you want to crimp so you have a flare on both ends. Okay? You don't want it crimped on the very end because what happens is it ends up cutting into the mono. So if you get a nice fish on, it pulls to the side like this. After a little while, it's going to break off, and you're like, oh man, it broke off. And that's the reason. And it's 100%. Okay, like I said, this is just a splasher rig. So nothing fancy.
Just a basic question for you, Corey,
Yes.
for novice out there that don't crimp. The sleeve packages have the pound test on the back.
Correct, yes.
So
So that
just
way
to
you
go
know
through
what
the-
size. So, and then according to your mono, most of your mono, for example, it has 0.80. So when you look at crimps, for example, here, I don't know if you can see it, so they're labeled here like 50 to 80 pound crimps, that's 1.0. So now it's a little big because they're smaller, they're very tiny, first of all, but that will work. As long as you crimp it, get a little oomph in your grip. But that's how you go. You go by the diameter line, go by your crimps. And then it depends on what kind of mono too, so you can check that out. Then you got the rig. You got some nose wire here. I usually will put it around, actually, sometimes it's better to put it on the loop. That way you can maneuver around a little bit better. Now you're probably wondering, you'll see some rigs that have a pin. It usually comes up where the crimp's at. It usually sticks up, kind of like, I'm sure everybody's seen them, or maybe haven't. The pin sticks up kind of like that. And that helps you guide it through there. So the reason I don't do it that way is because if you get a sailfish or a dolphin, they go to grab and eat that bait, and that pin's sticking up. Just like anybody of us gets pricked by a pin, they go to bite down, they automatically let go of the bait, and that's it. They feel something, they're gone. So with that gone, everything's smooth, so they can come up. So the only thing I would do is I would wrap it around the mono like 1 or 2 times. This acts as your pin. You can see how long this is. Okay, that's very easy. And then what we do is belly. Now again, this is a splash belly, so I do. Way I rig my baits is, first of all, you check your baits, see the pec fins on the side here. If they're laying flat, you're fine. If you'll see some of the packages sometimes they're laying the opposite way, you take them off. All right, the easiest way to do is either hold on to it and twist it, come off like that, or if you don't have the hand strength, you get a pair of scissors. Easy enough, and you just boop, trim. Okay, that's step one. A lot of people don't like rigging these because they take it through. Step two is I usually will cut a little slot in their butt, and you poop it out. No stuff coming out. That's what you want to do. The reason you do this is you want everything so aerodynamic so when it goes in the water, it swims and looks natural. So that's step two. And then usually I'll take the eyes out. 2 reasons: for rigging purposes. And I find that if you don't take them out and then you put your nose wire through it, the eyes have a tendency of bugging out after a while as you troll it. That. And step 3, since we're rigging a splasher, usually you can just break the bill like halfway. And watch this little trick here. Pull this little sleeve back, see how it kind of peels? That will lay up, that's your amount of how it's going to lay up in there nice. Then your next step, splasher. What they do is measure where the crimp's going to be, where the end of this nose wire is. And you see where the bend of your hook is. Give a little poke. There's a little hole, marks it. What you do is kind of bend the hook, slide it in there like that, and this will pop out like so. Slide the hook down, wiggle it if you have to. And it should see how, having done anything, look how it sits. That's what you want. So then you take the nose wire, this is how you seal it up. Very end of it, go through the bottom. This is where the pin on some of these rigs will come in handy, but if you take this, it'll pop right through like that. This holds the mono. Okay, make one little wrap around here. Keep it tight. Make sure it's tight. Wrap these around his gill plates. Here's the trick too. Once you do all that, try to go as slow as I can, guys. Thank you. And so you wrap it around the eye socket. And that's another reason why I take the eyes out. That way it's so easy to wrap around the gill. So you want to keep all this nice. Everything's got to be tight, guys. Remember, you're moving fast. Now with these kind of baits, you can't move more than 8 miles an hour. You don't want to go too fast because it'll be skipping all over the place. And that's what these are designed for, to skip. Okay? Once you get that all wrapped up there, I mean, it depends on how noisy your wire is. You can get the copper wire that's already pre-cut, or you can buy the soft stainless wire that's like 15 pounds in. You can make it as long as you want or as short as you want. And where you peel back that piece of skin, the mono will lay up in there. I'll show you a little quick trick too. All right, so this, you wrap all the way up there for a splasher, okay? So it's all rigged like this. Now, if you want a swimmer without lead, and this will work going like 4 to 5 miles an hour. What you do is, this is the tricky part, is you pull the mono back a little bit, split the bill, see how the line's in the middle of it, wrap on both sides, and then you just do this. And whatever bill is left in there, you trim it with a pair of pliers. Now this makes the bait pull from this. And you can see where the mono's at. Now your last step is what I've always done is before you go to throw them out, you break his back on. Because if you do it ahead of time, they end up getting real stiff when they're in the cooler or wherever you get them from. So then as you get ready to put it out, all you do is you push down on it real lightly. You'll see that like the back raise a little bit. You almost hear it. And then just get a little wiggle. And it's just me holding this. Look at it. I'm not even barely doing anything in the water. Now this is a splasher. I'm sorry, this is a swimmer now because it's where the mono is. If you want a splasher, you put it on this underneath there and tie it. Now if you are in weeds are really thick and you can't troll them and you get weeds all over your bait all the time, here's another little trick for you guys. Pull the hook down a little bit, push it to the side, and poke it up in here. You're gonna be like, oh, you can't hook the fish. Well, you do this, you won't catch any weeds at all. Dolphin are aggressive. They're going to rip the baits apart. You will hook them. I tested it. I thought the same thing when I did this rig, and it works fine. This is only if the weed's really bad and you know they're in the weeds and you can't troll them because it gets their stuff all in. So you skip these across the top of it, and you'll get bites. Now again, this is just a natural bait, nothing on it. And if you want, of course, obviously don't tie this on here. You can always do something like this. A lot of people like colors. And simple.
What do you like, Corey?
I
You like naked or
I
you
will
like strips?
tell you in just a second. I will tell you in just a second. But that's a good bait. That's a good bait right there. Like I
I was
said,
gonna say naked.
I'm not sure.
this is weedless. So this is what you call weedless, I guess. You know, like bass terms, the weedless. And then, like I said, you can do it with the monos on the bottom for a splasher, or if you put the mono in the middle like that and troll slow. That's slow, meaning like 3.5 to 5 miles an hour. And just watch it swim. It might come up, go down, swim up like 9 times. So there's simple. And then again, you can either crimp. Since I did a perfection loop in the other one, we'll crimp one on here. Nothing special, just a same crimp. Again, this is 60-pound mono. Always make your loops small. You don't want them too big. You always want them small. It's less drag in the water. And again, always crimp center. That way it flares on both ends. So that way you see that. That's what you want. That's 100%. Okay, so again, this is Dolphin. So now you got a great rig. Now, this rig with the strip, the lure, you can go 6 to 8 miles an hour. This will be your spread. So that way you can figure out, okay, they're eating strips. Oh, wait a minute, they're eating lures. Or wait a minute, they're eating values. And what's going to happen, when they're really biting, they're going to eat all this stuff. But you're going to find that if you're really targeting dolphin, all of a sudden, 2 hours of the day, they're only going to eat strips. 2 hours a day, they're going to eat values. And then all of a sudden, you're going to be sitting there, and you're going to keep catching 5-pounders, and just 2 fish, or maybe even 1 fish, a 15-pounder will come up and eat that lure because they like something a little bit bigger. So that's that. Now, Trey was asking me what my favorite bait is, and I'm going to show you right now.
Corey, real quick, we
Yes.
have 2 questions here.
Okay.
One is, for strips, do you like to use single or double hook on your strips?
I like to use singles because it gives the bait more action. Now, if you want to put the strip back further, instead of tying a knot, you can either crimp a loop, which will make, let's see, no, I won't do that. You have to get a little bit longer shank. I'm sorry, I was thinking of keeping your lure on. That's another trick too. So get a little bit longer shank if you want to make it, or cut your strip a little shorter, and that way your hook's a little further. But generally, the dolphin will eat this entire thing no problem. I mean, I've seen them eat bonitas, and they're 8-pounders, you know. So with single hook, for your answer your question, single hook gives it a lot more action in the water.
Thank you.
And would you put a swivel on top of the hook?
No, I would not.
No swivel.
No swivel. Less hardware, less like that. Here's something also too. Okay, so this strip right now, what's this rig's okay?
So when I said the swivel, like on top of the hook.
Yeah, you're talking about right on eye right there.
Yeah.
Yes. No, I would just leave it the way it is. Just that. Yep. Now, guys gonna notice that different conditions, the bait's gonna work better. So when it's flat calm out, the strip or a splashing value will probably outfish this lure because they like stuff that's moving around on top. When it's rough out, they're going to want the lure or the strip, because once you put the strip way back, it'll stay underwater a little better because of the action of the water. So that now they can see, because now the bait's almost in the water 100% versus 50% when it's rough, 100% when it's flat. So there's something to keep an eye out, stuff like that. Now,
Another question we have is,
Yes.
what size hooks are you using for the bonita strip and for the valley go?
okay, the bonita strip, you can use 6.0s or 7.0 open ones, they call them, or you can get some closed bite ones. So depending on your rig, because sometimes if you're fishing for smaller dolphin or even tunas, you'll go with a smaller hook so you can get the bites and smaller bait versus. But generally, if you stick to a 6 or 7.0 for the strips, you'll be good. And then the value typical is 7 or 8, depending on your size of your value. And I like the open ones for the values because you get more hook exposure. Okay, so one more rig for the dolphin is, I'll show you. Now I'm going to do for the knot tying people. So again, you can crimp if you want, but if you don't, usually make like a granny knot to start with. So that's all it is to start with. So what you're going to do is take this rig, hook, half ounce lead, Take that line and go through there like this. Now what's nice about this loop knot, not 100% sure what name it's called, I just call it loop knot. You can make a loop as big as you want. I generally make it as close as I can to that width. Like right around there. So then what you do is you take the tag in and go around half inches like 3 times. And pull in a half inch to your knot loop there. Once it's down to where you want it. It looks like kind of like that. Okay, all I do is trim off the tag. So here's where you take nose wire, and I'll sometimes pinch it a little bit like that towards the end of the knot. That's where you're going to end up rigging. Just take it around. Hopefully you guys can see that. All I'm doing is wrap it around this. It's really tight. So that kind of closes that off just a little bit. That way it's nice and easy to rig through the valley here. Okay. Take this in here. Wrap around one more time like that. Now this is basically your pin. It's gonna be 3 valley. Okay. So again, here's the process again. All right, here's a perfect example. See how the fins are poked the other way? Let's both of them that way. What happens is, the reason you take them off too is because if you don't take them off, see, there's a little pressure. So when it goes in the water, it's going to want a tendency of making it spin. So then I usually take those right off. Like again, you just grab it with your finger strength, twist them off, or take a pair of pliers, or scissors and cut them off. Now you're making a swimmer, so you peel it back a little bit, so it peels back like that. You can go in any process, whatever is easiest for you. I do so many of them, I do different ways. Usually if I'm using a knife right now, I cut that. I'll do that. Pull the eyes out. Again. Getting all the crap out of them.
That part of the process makes it real loose.
Yes. And now since I'm going to do this, now again, you don't break their backbone until you get ready to put them up, but since we're doing this, I'll do it right away, just to show you what they're going to look like. You break their backs, wiggle them up a little bit. As you can see, I'll wiggle loose there. Now I'm not even doing anything. I mean, when you start putting them in the water and give them a little speed, those things almost like they're straight. And just so you guys know, like when you're looking for baits, the baits they have here are awesome. And you can look for the orange tails, clear eyes, and how silver they are. And also look on the bottom. If you see a lot of green poop on the bottom and stuff like that, they're fresh caught and they're packaged right. And they'll last. That's the whole key. They want them to last. I mean, when you go to places like Dominican Republic, for example, and you're rigging 100 baits a day, you don't want any of them to go bad because you just so many got to rig.
So yellow tails, green poop, clear eyes,
Yes.
nice silver fin.
Yes. Okay, so now, again, same thing. Measure out where that knot's going to kind of be. It's going to be right up there. Now what's nice about this is because it's it'll stick a little further back. Slide that up. Wiggling this up. Here's another trick. The biggest thing, guys, is push the sled up in this gill plate. Put this up here.
Want to go through that other flat?
Yes, going through the top there. Yeah.
And you'll fish a variety of baits at the same time.
You can. If you want to dry some mullet or vanilla strips or stuff, whatever.
Will you do a combo of ballyhoo and strips?
Yes, yes. That's what I was saying. When you want to troll, you have a strip. I mean, if you're by yourself, this 3-rod system is awesome. You get a lure down the middle, a ballyhoo on one side, and a vanilla strip on the other side. So that way, you got 3 rods. You can figure out what they're biting on. Again, you'll see that sometimes in early mornings they'll want bait. As the sun comes up a little bit more, depending on the conditions of the sea, they'll want a lure, something a little bit bigger so they can see it. All right, so, whole trick to this, guys, is, you have a question? Yes.
Yeah, the question is, how do you get rid of squid smell on your hands?
Lemon juice.
You need to read it.
I'm gonna read it before I ask.
Lemon juice works really well. All right. So right now, guys, let's just got to ask a kind of interesting question, but okay, we're on our way back to rigging. So the biggest thing is you want to make sure this lead is tucked up as tight as it can be. All right.
Who asked that question?
Was that Eric?
Yeah.
Jeff's cut off. No more questions.
No more questions. All right.
Yeah, you got zoomed in. Zoomed in.
So I'm just rigging this up tight, guys. And again, you can actually peel this back even more if you want it. So
You use a teaser bait when you're trolling?
you can, if you have an extra, teaser reels on the boat or anything like that, you can. Yes, that's great. Most of the time, you don't really need it for dolphin fishing. Now, if you're bill fishing, yes. All I'm doing, guys, is rigging it like we did before. Push the hook down, and you can see how the lead's all tucked up in there. And that's another reason why you take the eyes out. See how I'm it's all about stitching. You don't want anything loose. Yeah, remember, when you're rigging, you want to make sure it stays in there tight because your bait will look perfect for like 2 or 3 minutes, and as it moves and wiggles, things loosen up, then all of a sudden your bait starts to swim out of the side. These baits are going to swim like this. If they don't, then there's something wrong. Okay? And I got so many compliments of the baits that we rig on our boat, and they look at me going, "Is that live?" I go, "Nope." And they go, "You sure we didn't buy any of those?" "Nope. No, that's the way they rig them." But this is my #1 bait, a simple, natural swimming rigged ballyhoo. We'll outfish any of this stuff for mine.
We have a comment.
I go down low.
Oh, sorry.
We have Jeremiah
Camera down.
Ports says the man, the legend. I don't know if you know Jeremiah. But it's a
I
man.
do. Thank you.
Oh my goodness.
This is our Redneck TV here. We're on fire. So anyhow,
Oh man.
good to see you, buddy. So this is that, and then also too, if you want easy, simple, you guys, naked swim balance. If you want a swimmer with a skirt on it, you can go the extra step, throw a skirt on it if you want. Now again, I'm just picking blue and white right now because of the flyers that are around. So. And even though you're trying to target dolphin with these things, you'll see that you'll fish or catch a lot of sails on this, bonitas and stuff like that. Now, I don't know if you guys know, but the reason too is you go with long shank hooks. If you get a chance to eat wahoo eats this on mono, at least you might have a chance to get hooked without cutting you off right away because the hook's a little bit longer. I mean, that's why I like shank. And also, you can see how far back it is. How can you pass that out? I mean, I eat that. So, anyhow, so that's it. And then you put your little perfection loop on or crimp, whatever you're easiest with. It all depends. The perfection loop knot, which is I showed you that before, that's 100%. It doesn't break. And if you want to do the crimps, as long as you crimp it right the way I taught you, you will have no problems with that either. So this is dolphin fishing 101 here. This is very basic. I gave you a lot of quick tricks of the trade as far as swimmers without leads, with the line going through their bills, splashers, the weedless one, strips, and the lures. But this is very, 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 very good for what you want to target.
All right, so since we're wrapping up the dolphin section, we'll give like 30 seconds, 60 seconds for anybody that has a question on dolphin fishing. Since we're getting into dolphin season, the weed lines are starting to form out there. Anybody that has a question, go ahead and type it up, and we'll get it over to Corey here quick.
Focus on that camera. We'll focus on you
Okay.
around you.
You got it. That's too small. No, I'm just
You want more Zoom?
No questions here.
Okay, no
All right.
questions.
Well, I guess
so-
I just explained myself.
That you're fishing.
For dolphin, so it's kind of varies. I mean, right now there's a few around in shallow, 75 to 200 feet because there's a lot of bait around. And as Trey was saying, as weed lines start to show up more in June, July, and August, you're going to be out anywhere from 500 to out to about 1,200 feet of water. So it's kind of all depends. And then obviously the best winds for that are going to be out of east quadrants. You don't want to really fish for dolphin out of west quadrants unless you're in on the reef, because it just doesn't, they just don't bite. And everything that's offshore that's lined up, if there's anything, ends up splitting apart and it just becomes a big mess.
Remind everybody that the pilchards and sardines and
I haven't got to
things in the inlet right now, everything is close to shore. So right now, go fishing is an epic time because all the bait's in shallow. We recorded a couple mahi catches at 75 feet the past couple of days. So even mahi fishing right now. So the depth of mahi fishing varies because all the bait is in shallow. So
For anybody that doesn't know, this is Goddess Lisa. She's my other half, my better half.
Goddess behind Goddess Charter.
That's it. She's my better half.
She likes white wine, by the way. If anybody wants to send her.
And probably Eric's got fish too.
So on a Saturday morning, what
Yes.
is the key to catching the mahi? Is it being the first one to the weed line?
Yes.
So for those that like to go to the bar
Dilly-dally,
Friday night,
yes.
you got to get up early.
Now here's the thing that people don't understand too is like, okay, so this happens. It's happened to me. I'll be honest. It's happened to many people. You get up early, you get out there at 6:30, and you're running offshore. Problem with being that early is sometimes you miss the weed lines or the edges, so you'll go right past it, not seeing it, unless you know for a fact, hey, someone told me it was in 500 feet of water, and you kind of look for it. So there's times where we've run past it, and everybody's like, hey, oh man, we went too far. We had to come all the way back. So keep in mind, try to do the 7 o'clock type thing, so at least you can see a little bit, because then when the sun's up, you can say, oh, and then other than that too, if you don't see weed lines, let's say you see a piece of debris, it's a little early for fish to be on it.
Can't see the birds.
You can't see the birds, you can't see the debris, or even if you find debris that early in the morning, they're not going to be on it, because it seems like they like the sun to have a little activity.
Do you have preferred color skirts depending on if it's cloudy, overcast versus being sunny?
If we have clean water, I like fishing black and purple. It's one of my favorites. It works in dark, light, everything. It works great. And again, though, another good color, like here's a really good color with this particular lure, is blue and pink. So really another good color for dolphin. And of course, they'll eat anything, as everybody knows. They'll eat, but over time, when you see the colors, I don't know if you guys saw the Wahoo seminar. If you pay attention to your colors, you're going to figure out what colors work best for the bigger fish.
What about dirty water versus clear water?
Dirty water, you still like blue and pink would be a good one for dirty, or pink and white. And sometimes there's one that's called the Ghost. It's glow to dark skirt or white type thing. But what's nice about this one, if you had to pick one color, this is a universal one. This will work in both colors.
Now, your preference, let's say you're at 400 feet and the water still looks a little dirty.
Mhm.
Will you keep going deeper to find clean water?
I would, if I know there's some dolphin around, yes, because they like that cleaner water. Because generally when the cleaner water is around, you're going to have current. And the current brings in all the nutrients. And this is usually when you see that blue, purple water like everybody likes to see. And then, of course, if there's weed, that's where it's going to be at.
Right. Somebody asked about a double hook value.
If you can do that. It's a little harder to do. I mean, the only thing that you would do different in this particular rig is you'd get a hook that matches, so it goes over this hook very easily, not where you have to punch it under. So let's say a little bit bigger. So then what you have to do if you're going to do that aspect is you measure where this would be popped out here, for example. You slide this up. I could probably do it right in this. Yeah. Slide this up like this. And you kind of feel your way to the eye of that hook, and it'll slide right through, and that's how your double hook rig will look once it goes through there. But again, you got to make sure that this goes through there so easily. Otherwise, you're going to be fighting with it, and you're going to rip your bait apart. If you want to do a double hook one, but you are better off with a single. You're going to get a lot more bites, a lot more action on it. But again, if you're one of those people that like the double hook, then that's fine. Rig that thing, and you just kind of leave it back and forget about it. These other ones, sometimes you have to drop back a little bit, let them eat, but this will outfish the double hook any day.
Going from Corey, single hook, couple fishes.
Okay, and I'm trying to think of anything else for dolphin fishing.
real quick, do you want to touch base on why a double hook opposed to a single hook swims differently in the water and a hookup ratio?
Well, we
as
could.
opposed to a single hook
So,
and a double hook?
Goddess Lisa was asking or mentioning about the double hook. The reason too is, so if you have a single hook, you're gonna see the action out of it. Okay. As soon as you put 2 hooks in there, it's gonna be so stiff and stuff that it's not gonna swim as well. And just to throw a safety issue in there, double hooks. The problem with double hooks too is sometimes you get those dolphin on those double hooks and they start bouncing. And it's happened to me when I was 18 years old. Thinking we flap around trying to grab a dolphin, and all of a sudden the hook swings out and snags in your arm. You have dolphin on the other hook, flopping around, and I can show you scars from it. But that's what generally happens when you're in a hurry trying to get your favorite lure out or whatever like that. And next thing you know, he's in your arm and you're doing this, trying to get him off your arm, and you got to rip him out. Anyhow, it's safer with single.
But you can obviously see the action difference.
See the action difference, yes. I mean, look at
Yeah,
this.
just to attract the fish.
Yes. Again, this is my number one. I let this swim with alligators. So, all right. So, if there's any other questions on dolphin fishing,
Somebody just asked about outriggers. If you have to have outriggers to fish,
you do not.
You don't have to have outriggers.
We don't even have any on our boat, and we do fine.
You guys are the pros.
But they are nice because you can put more rods on if you have them. So don't get me wrong, they are nice. You can use them to your advantage, of course. But if you don't have them, it's not a big deal. You can still fish 4 rods comfortably, no problem.
I have a question.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about being ready to drop a bait back after a short strike?
Okay. So if you get a dolphin comes up there and you know it's a dolphin, for example, he's gonna come up there and grab it, and then let's say, all right, if he's in an outrigger, it's gonna pop out. May come tight, may not. So you come back, and what's going to end up happening is when they grab it, if your bait's really good, they're going to grab the bait and slide off your bait, and then you still probably have a whole bait, or if not, 3/4 of bait. So when that happens, the best thing to do is you wind it up a little bit, get a little more action out of it, and just sit there and wait. And if you feel something, drop back for like 3 or 4 seconds. Or if they're a little hesitant about it, wind it really fast and just free spool it real quick. Because as they see it moving and it just starts to sink and float back, they're going to come back and just inhale the whole thing because they're like, oh, I just wounded it and I'm going to finish it off and just eat it. So that'll be the 2 quickest and easiest ways. Now the strip, if they hit a strip, for example, there's no really drop back in a strip because they're going to inhale it, they're going to mow it. So what you do is you just kind of jig it really light, and as soon as you feel them grab it, just rod tip them really quick towards the fish and then pull back. And then that'll give them enough time to turn their heads and you'll be able to hook them, especially in the strips. Now, the lures are a little different. They usually crash them or they don't. The lures, you kind of wind. You can drop back a smidge. I mean, it's almost like a one drop and then lock it back up type thing. But most of the time, they'll hook themselves on the lures, especially if you rig them or get them rigged so the hook's a little bit further back. Because generally, most fish will come up from behind and eat it or from the side. So, and then that way it's in his mouth like that. Okay, any other questions?
If you see a frigate bird out there, would you want to get in front of the frigate bird, or where would you line up if you see it moving?
Okay, so if you're looking for birds, that's a good question.
If it's circling, but it's moving,
Yes. Okay, so you guys got to be kind of like patient with it. Don't just race up and get right in the middle. And now the only way that's going to work is if you have live bait. And if you have live bait, you race up, kind of see where the bird's going. You throw live baits out, and you'll probably have a shot. But if you're trolling, you kind of have to watch the bird and how it's going. You don't want to ever go through them. You want to kind of go around them because that way the fish are traveling, the bird's following. And if you time it just right where you're swinging around as the bird comes by you, you're going to get a bite almost 9 out of 10 times. But it's a matter of timing it and watching how the fish go. Now, sometimes, yes, you'll be following him, everything's going good, and all of a sudden he just darts off and he's gone. So in that case, the fish generally will go down and they're gone for a while. And you just got to wait or just look for another set of birds. But if you can time it where you can get out in front of them, that's the key. Don't run through the middle of them because it pushes them down. But you get around them because that way they're not spooked. You'll get more multiple hookups that way. That's a good question.
I think it's similar to tuna. You don't want to spook.
Exactly. Tunas are even worse because they are boat shy. You want that stuff way back most
You
of the
don't
time.
want to spook them.
Right.
Running up real hard on the fish.
Exactly.
Corey, another question we have is how tight should the drag be?
It all depends on what you're fishing. If you're fishing anywhere from 10-pound test on up to 50-pound, just make sure it's, usually the recommended 33% of the line is what your drag should be set at. If you set at that for dolphin fishing or anything else, I always set it a couple pounds lighter than that. That way you're good. If you're catching a lot of small fish, you don't want the drag too tight. You end up pulling them so hard that they fly out of the water and come off. So the biggest thing is that way you just keep the drag set up.
Okay. Another question we have is if they buy rigged ballyhoo, do they have to do this dismembering steps that you talked about earlier?
No, they're all pretty much ready to go because they're already rigged. So no, you'll just have to, if anything, maybe break their back one if they're not broken. But they're already rigged, then then boom, that's all you have to do.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Is that any other questions for Dolphin?
Do we have any other questions for Dolphin?
You have a question?
I was gonna touch on the drag. On the drag on our swimmers, when we are pulling swimmers behind the boat, we're super, super light drag. We've got the clicker on, we've got the drag in just a smidgen, because on a swimmer, when the mahi comes around to bite, it's like Corey said, sometimes they'll come back around to eat half the fish, real specific and real specific, come around, eat it, drop back a little bit, and if the drag's real light, they'll come around, pick up the other half of the remaining bait and run off with it. If they come around, pick up half the bait, mahi this time of year, mahi year-round seem to want like game sports, so we're trolling a little faster for mahi. But if you keep the drag really light on your swimmers and you have that clicker on really light, just barely up, and you can pull it out, you can hear that click. That way, that gives the fish a little round. When we're pulling bugs with strips on them, we lock it up because there's just no going back. But when, because the strips, we run strips that are kind of like medium to short. But when we're pulling swimmers, drag's super, super light, and we don't push it up all the way.
And it all depends on your speed as well.
That's right.
So if you're going fast, obviously it drags up a little bit more. And like she said, if you want to leave it a little bit lighter, so that way you have a chance to get to it. If you're by yourself, then you can. But
If you leave it a little lighter, it doesn't pull the bait out of their mouth, right?
correct. See, another thing, if you guys want to go like the full step into doing this whole thing, and then, which I don't even do this because it's just too much work. After doing all this, before you do all this, if you descale these things, then the fish will not be able to grab it and slide off. They'll actually hold on to the bait, and let them eat it, and then they catch it. But I'm sorry, but I don't do that. It's just too much work. I mean, if they're you get good enough with it where if they miss it, at least it gets them antagonized even more to eat
We
it.
have customers that'll do it for sure.
If they're gonna do it, then knock all the scales up, because then what happens is they'll actually grab the bait and it won't let go.
Right.
So then they'll go off, swim off with it, and then you can free spool it and then let them eat and do whatever. But I don't go that extra step because I get too many basic rigs. It would take me years to get all of these things.
How far back from the boat should your bait be?
Okay, if you're fishing the three hook spread, let's say the bonita strip, ballyhoo, and lure, fish the bonita strip probably like 150 to 200 feet back. Do your ballyhoo probably about 125 to 150 feet, and then your lure is going to be up close. It'll be almost like your teaser, but has a hook in it, so it'll be like 75 feet to 100, depending on the boat, of course. My bait bounce usually a lot neater than this, guys. I swear. But anyhow, this is some of the rigs that you guys can see.
This is what Corey's Saturday night consists of.
Yes. And when we're in Fish and Wahoo tournaments and all that stuff, Goddess Lisa's helped me rig lures up till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, so we can get up at 4.
Yay!
No.
Yes.
Yes.
It's exciting.
And,
Get
and
that
the
right.
reason the reason is because number one, we don't really have a place to rig them on the boat. We're usually going outboards, and when you're doing really well in tournaments, you don't need to see what you're doing, so you take them back to the room and rig them up. And by the time you get done cleaning up, shower, dinner, all that stuff, everybody's done and disappeared. 11 o'clock, we're up rigging our stuff, so we can. And hence, top
Colors are a
female
big
angler in
thing.
the Wahoo tournament this year, and we did very well. So
Colors are a big thing.
Did you win a big Wahoo tournament this year? too?
yes, top lady female angler right there. So, but anyhow, this is the dolphin stuff. I think this is I mean, shoot, I might even take this for the boat. But anyhow, looks really good.
It's like
Gonna do a little afternoon trip.
Yeah, we got time. Any more dolphin questions?
How do you store your pre-rigged baits?
Pre-rig that you're gonna rig them, and then for the night before, or
I just go over both.
okay, so.
They can't answer.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so if you're gonna have baits rigged up, you're gonna rig them the night before. Just basically, it's simple. Cooler, a little ice in it. Put tin foil on there, so you don't want the ice to burn the baits. Actually, I know people don't find that crazy, but or sitting in water.
Even
Salt
like a
it.
tray with the holes in
Or
it.
tray with a hose is even better. Put the baits in there. Don't salt them. All it does is burn the baits. They're fresh baits. And so when you're doing that, I mean, if the hook's like that, it's simple. Just lay them like this. You know, nothing special. Just keeping them nice and neat. You just got to remember, when they're all balled up like that, sometimes they'll get bacteria and all that stuff. So space will have a little air and let them sit there. They'll last a good day or so. Now, if you're rigging them and then going to freeze them type thing, if you have a vacuum seal, just rig them up, vacuum seal them up, put them in the freezer, and pull them out whenever you need them. Or sometimes you can take a gallon-sized Ziploc, put including mono. Everybody's got you can put mono in the freezer, put it in there. Just tuck the bag in the water, get all the air out, and then you can put them in the freezer. And then it's we call it like the Polish way of doing it, but it works.
I don't think a lot of people know that trick.
It works really well. So
The other reason you want to spend a few more seconds on, making your tackle box really clean and neat while you're rigging your bait, you have all the time in the world. You're sitting around, you're squeezing out the air bladder, you're peeling out eyeballs, you're doing a few things to lay them in nice and neat. You coil up your leaders, and I know there are a few people out there that have got on a mess of mahi, and then all of a sudden it's like
Chaos.
mad mayhem.
Chaos,
If you go in to reach in your tackle box and your tackle and bait isn't organized, you can come in, you're gonna get a snag, you're gonna get a hook. All of a sudden the hook on one bait has catched the leader on another. You're just trying your hardest to get a pitch bait out there, and if you don't have it nice and neat, it sounds kind of simple and like feminine, but organize your tackle box, reach in really quick and simple, throw on another one, pitch bait while it's out there. You got that school behind you. If it's easier for you to grab in, pitch, boom, grab in, pitch, boom, as opposed to a big mess, you lose a fight.
Absolutely.
and she mentioned about like the school of Dolphin. So I'll tell you, I'll touch on something real quick. Most people sometimes don't realize is that if you're trolling fish and there's a school back there, all the rods come down. There's a perfect example. All the rods come down, and there's a school of fish back there. Most people will sit there and stop and do all this. Well, what's going to happen? These fish are traveling. The reason they're biting troll stuff is because they're traveling. So with that being said, is when you have a fish on, the best thing to do is it works when you have two people, unless you have a perfect turn or a flat calm day.
Is this a weed line situation or
No,
non-weed line?
Non-weed line situation. So these are fish that are traveling out in the open.
Going.
Just keep the boat going. Well, what you do is when you get a fish on is you put the boat in a hard turn. Let the boat kind of circle. Because what it does is whatever fish you have on, the school is going to follow them. And you can kind of corral them and keep them in one spot. So while you're doing that, and then this is only like if you have 2 or 3 people on board. If you're by yourself, it's very hard to do. But you get 2 or 3 people on board, you got 4 rods on, let's say. And I always seem like I always have a spinner. You get a chunk ballyhoo or whatever and just cast it. I will guarantee you'll get another fish on. And then what's nice is that spin around when you get a fish on there, let that one sit. That's your what do you call it?
Like your decoy.
Decoy. Thank you. That holds in there. You bring the other tackle in. That's a little heavier tackle, and you bring those dolphin in. Then you can start. You keep that circle going. You'll keep them interested, and you can kind of bail the dolphin when there's schools of them like that.
So you leave one in,
Yes.
put another bait out, get another one in, bring him in.
Yes, always
Like
keep
a
a fresh
rotation.
one out. That's always keep a fresh one out, and that's what will keep the school. And if you do it right, you can catch the whole school as long as they're biting. I mean, there's days that they're traveling, and I'm sure everybody says, "Oh my God, say the whole school," and they're not biting. So the reason they're not biting is 2 reasons: is that obviously the pressure's changing and this and that, or they want something that's fast. So even though you're trolling, and you're not going fast enough, you get a jig or something like that, cast over towards them, and start jig, 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 jig. You'll get them fired up, and then you can catch 3 or 4 real quick, and then all of a sudden they slack off again. You go back to that jig again. So you kind of tease them and change things up a little bit, and that way you can catch the whole school if hopefully you can. But
I've been in
And
that-
keep it in gear. Keep it in gear if you can keep it in gear, because they like that game.
I've been in that exact situation where we got a couple dolphin on, and we had the chunk baits out. They weren't touching them. I took a whole squid, put it on my hook, cast it out, skipped it across the water.
exactly.
Actually, we couldn't get past the bar jacks.
Oh yeah, because
So I threw it out there, skipped it across, and the dolphin could keep up with it, but the bar jacks couldn't get to it. But sometimes you got some of that trash fish around the weed line.
Exactly. And then I've never seen them ever turn down a swimming mullet in my career. And it's a little trick, but sometimes when they're all like lazy and you're trying everything, and just like Trey said, you cast a swimming mullet past everything and just wind as fast as you can, I will guarantee you'll get them on. And then once one eats, it just kind of fires up everybody else. And now you got to be real selective though. You can't feed them all perfect mullets because then that's all they ate and you run out and that's it. So you kind of like trick them. You get one, eat one, and you start throwing chunks or a jig, and then you'll catch a couple, and then you do it again, and it's kind of keep the circle going. And that way you'll get them all to bite, especially big fish.
Do you throw a chunk bag out if you get a school around, or what do you do?
If you have a school down, most people just aren't going to have chum with them, but you will have some ballyhoos with you for dolphin fishing. So always cut up like a little tray of ballyhoo chunks. Have some that you're going to waste, throw out just to get them around the boat. You don't want to overfeed them because that way they'll get full. You throw that, boom, you get some chunks ready to go, and you get your spinners or whatever you're going to use to catch them, and now keep it going.
So what I'm hearing is that it's not that you hook up a fish and then all of a sudden you think about what you're going to do. You have a system already in place on how it's going to go down.
Yes.
So you have your bait pre-cut, you have your ballyhoo, you have your pitch rod ready to
go. Everything's
out
going to be
there.
ready to go, yes.
So you have your system down. So I think the key is don't get surprised when you actually get a fish on.
Right.
You know, it hasn't happened the last 4 times, but now you got one.
Yeah, because you start getting lazy, and instead of bringing 12 rods, now you're down to 4, and all of a sudden you're like, holy crap, you got all these rods all busy. And I will tell you from experience that, when I used to commercial fish for dolphin, all right, we had 12 spin rods with bailing rigs on every one of them, had my spare, so we'd cast out, get a fish on, and de-hook or do whatever you need to do, but you have to be ready for these because you're going to have a split second. And if you do it right and do like I was saying, you get them in a turn, keep things going, and just always cast inside the turn, not outside the turn, guys. Inside the turn. That's where your fish are going to be at. You're gonna do very, very well. Very well.
Another question that we have is there ever a time you would use a downrigger for dolphin?
Okay.
Maybe rough seas or
No, because most dolphin will feed on the top, but I can't. What I would use would be a rod with a lead. Sometimes just that little bit below the surface, even though it's not much, only maybe a foot or two, because you're going 6, 7, 8 miles an hour. You'll get some of them bigger dolphin eat that. And the only other time that I've seen them eat down deep is if you're marking them on the machine. And I've actually marked them on the machine and caught them with planers. But that's just a freak thing. I already had planers out anyways. Like, oh, look, there's dolphin here. But most time when that happens, they're in on the reef feeding on the baits that are down real steep. But if you're gonna see them, if you can mark them on your machine out deep, the only other thing I can suggest is maybe try a butterfly jig or a jig like that if you get on top of them right away. But downrigger, it's a little tough with downriggers.
I've trolled downriggers with fresh ballyhoo and caught wahoo.
Yes.
Not dolphin, but the dolphin were up top. They were hitting the riggers.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
They seem like they like the action because you think about this, guys. They're if they're not eating sardines but their main diet is flying squid, which I don't know if anybody's seen them out offshore, but there is some, and flying fish. So this stuff's on the surface. And these dolphin, when the flying fish are up in the air, they're actually swimming on their sides and look up. So they're always looking up for stuff. So that's why you generally get more bites on them up towards the top.
So being the wahoo guy, would you put something down a little?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yes. Because you'll catch tuna sometimes, but the wahoos, are going to be down a little bit deeper.
Is that it? I don't know. Dolphin's one of the most exciting.
They are very colorful, jump.
which he just started. Because if you find something floating, and you're normally dolphin fishing, you should have a vertical jig rig for wahoo on it.
Yes. Now what's sad is that
He's starting something different here, but
right. No, that's fine because what's sad is that years ago all you needed was a lead.
right.
All we used was a pink spoon. Went around this, we would catch all the wahoos there, no problem. Now because everything's a little deeper, temperature's a little different. Now it seems like the vertical jigs are working very well. It's almost like you have to rig them on mono in order to get bites. I'm sure everybody gets cut off, but you get your fish on them too. So another cool thing too is if you get those giant rapalas, those things work really well as well. You get them out there and you slow them, like you're snook fishing almost. Yeah, and they'll bite those things too. So
We have one more question.
yes,
Does radar really help?
if you're looking for birds, yes, not for dolphin fishing.
Not for frigates.
No.
But for
Usually-
tuna is different.
Yes, because there's a big school of birds, so they can mark on the machine, and one frigate is not, unless your machine's special, then I've never seen you do it.
Star is calling you the dolphin whisperer.
anything else for the Dolphin?
I think that's it.
Okay.
You'll have to tune in next time for the rest.
Yes. Okay, so we're moving on to tunas now. I know everybody's excited about tunas because the big blackfins are starting to show up. We actually had one on today that took half a spool of braid out.
Yeah.
And before it broke the leader. I mean, it was. I almost think we snagged bottom was going so fast, and unfortunately we didn't get them. But we caught some tunas earlier in the week, some nice blackfins, and it ranging anywhere from 10 to 25 pounds. So there've been some decent ones around. So what we'll get into is, well, there's a couple ways you can fish for them. Probably the most productive, if you're in the right area, is actually live baiting. I mean, you can get some pilchards, do the kite fishing or drifts, and it's going to be either early morning or late in the afternoon type fight. So, but if you can't get live bait and you're getting off from work or whatever the case may be, a couple things will work really well. Again, a swimming ballyhoo will work really well, and I've always done very well with a naked swimming ballyhoo for blackfins. I mean, you can try colors, but I've always done better with that. Some of the easy ones, even though it's a small little feather, these feathers work really well. And again, blue and white for right now because of the flying fish. You can rig this up again like you did the strip. It can either be by itself or put a strip on the back for the sec. And now these are made to go fast. You want to go 8, 9, maybe 10 miles an hour, especially if you see birds. These are more designed for bird fishing. Now, if you're targeting where there's nothing out there, you just know there's bait, there's some tunas in the area, then you can fish the strips like this, way back. Or another thing too is everybody knows how to planer fish. If you don't, then it's a little bit heavier tackle. Get you set up. Got number 4 planer, number 6 planer. Seems to be my favorites for right now because everything's eating high. So you get your rod set up, and very simple. They got all these rigs here. Blue and white and blue. Pink and white and blue and white have been working really well. And very simple. You can use either a double hook or a single hook, depending on what your style is. I like single hooks. It gives the bait, again, more action. And you fish these things way back. Number 4, usually it's generally on, probably about 300 feet back. And then the shorter one, probably about 150 feet back. And these are long leaders. So as you're trolling the reefs and stuff, you cover the reefs anywhere from 75 to 200 feet of water, and you're trolling planers, and you'll get the bigger ones down deep. If you're not marking birds and see them skyrocket and that kind of thing.
What's your preferred length between planers and bait?
100 feet for around here. Now, you can shorten up when you go to islands because they're not as spooky as they are here, and you can actually beef up the leader. So some of these leaders can range anywhere from 60 to 80-pound leaders, which is what this, I think this is probably feels about 80. So here's one of the rigs they have here, which is an awesome rig. You can get different colors, of course, and the same idea. There you go. If you use a double hook, for example, you're going to, in case you guys don't know how to do it, you take that, just very simple. Take a point on it, go to the very tip. You got one part, measure out the bend of the second one. Very simple. And this will sit over top like this. I already caught something.
You're already catching.
Oh man, that's how good this rig is.
Yeah.
So as this goes flares over like this, it'll cover up all that, and that's what it's going to look like, guys. And sea witches are nice for this time of year because there's some squid around, sardines, pilchards, goggle eyes. It gives it a little puff action. And you troll these anywhere from 5 mile an hour to 7 mile an hour with planers. You got to fight a little bit tighter drag, but that's a real basic, simple. Again, see how I went through the skin first because it's going to sit like this. Now, if you do the single hook rig, it's going to be a little bit longer shank hook. I prefer the longer shank hook because I'll tell you the main reason is because you'll catch a lot more toothy critters. Because when you have double hook rigs, when they eat it, this is what's going to happen. Hooks fold as they swim, so it gives them a chance to move their rounds around, and then look where your mound's at. Ends up cutting them off. Whereas if you have single hook rig, which is a little bit longer, I think I had a hook. There's something. I think I can see one. Right Here's what I'm talking about long shank hook. Now these are actually made for bluefish for up north, but these little tubes on them and they fish it. These are a special hook. So the biggest thing you have to do is basically bend this back, close the eye, and just straighten it out a little bit, and you're ready to go. So then what you do is, remember I was showing you about the pin? Nothing fancy, so that you put, in this case, let me see if I can do this. See if I can do this with this. I don't think I can, but now that I get back here. Second. One second, guys. I usually have a little bit bigger pliers to do this, but in any case, once you close the eye and you put the little pin in there, like I was showing you guys, just wrap it around.
Advice if you want to use it.
Okay. All right, we got some tools now. All right, look at this bad boy. Now, if you don't have this pair of pliers will
Got
work
that in the
fine.
garage right there.
Yes.
$29.99 at Harbor Freight.
Nice. And look, it's blue. It matches the ocean.
Running commentary on what you're doing.
All I'm doing is tighten up the hook, guys. The eye of the hook so I can put the pin through there. And while I'm at this, I got a nice tool here. I'll bend this hook the way it should look. Thank you.
I'm getting busy from this time. I'm moving to Facebook camera.
No,
Yeah.
it's upside down. It's not upside down online, it's upside down on me.
Backline. Oh, you need boom, boom, boom. Hold it, something.
I just did it real quick, guys. Spend a little more time, I can make it perfect. So it was basically tighten the eye down, straighten this out. Now, some people like to leave them off like that. I usually will bend them back, so you have just normal. These I can do this. Usually bend it back. And then my other trick too is I'll take this and actually bend it in just a little bit. So once this is bent down a little bit more, you just wrap this around like you did like the pin rig. All right, this is for the single hook rig, for the strip. And then you put got your pin, just like before. I'm gonna steal this strip real quick, show you guys. And as everybody knows, this is like a universal rig. You'll catch kings, you'll catch everything on this thing, but lately the tuna's been deep, so you make your mark, and it goes through like that. Same thing with the bend of the hook. Measure it all out. And it sits just like that. Okay. Again, it's going to sit like this in the water. Now, the reason I like the long shank and single hook, like I just showed you with the double hook, you get a fish on here, fold these things up, end up turning around and cutting you off. These, they bite on it. When they turn their head, the hook's actually going to go with their heads. It's going to go like this. So you have, instead of catching like 4 or 5 out of 10 for toothy critters, you'll get 9, maybe 100%, depending on the day. Now, of course, you're always going to get cut off no matter what, because sometimes if you go to turn, they're going to come up shooting across there and have their mouths wide open. But this will enable you to catch more wahoos and bigger kings than most, because it helps you I'll spit it out. Helps you keep it from cutting you off on your leader. This is what's been working. This, for most of the time, this time of year, you get a nice shot cord. Your down rods, which generally are getting down anywhere from 30 to 50 feet, depending on how far back you put them. Sometimes when you mark them on your machine, they can be down 45 feet, down to 100 feet. Generally, most fish, if you mark them anywhere from 60 feet up to the surface, they're going to get a bite out of them. If they're any deeper than that, you will not get a bite out of them, out of trolling anyways. Now, that's where maybe you can try a vertical jig, and that'll work. Or putting down a live bait a little bit deeper if you have one. But this is a very easy way to do stuff, because if you're, like I said, most people don't have time to go catch bait to get off from work in the evenings, for example, and they just want to go out for a couple hours. So if you have stuff like this ready to go, your couple planer rods and a couple feathers or a strip way back, your odds of catching tuna are going to be very, very good. I'm just trying to think of anything else that would help with tuna department. And obviously you mess around with colors. I mean, pink and white, pearl and white, green and white. It all depends on the water conditions. Like I said, this week it's been one of my favorites. It's been something like this. You got a little mylar with a little blue over top of it, on top of your Bonita strip. It's been working great. And something else too, they're feeding on, flyers are small this week. So make sure your strips are small. Don't make them too big, because they're not, you might catch a few fish, but they're feeding on small baits, just to let everybody know. I'm just trying to think of anything else that touch tunas. Tunas is like,
Tuna, do you want to tell them
Do
the
the,
characteristics?
what about live baiting for tuna, like trolling pilchers or drifting for pilchers?
okay, so that is a good question. So it depends on the current. If you have a lot of current, the best thing to do is drift. So you cover ground. You figure out if there's a little bit of wind, you can put a sea anchor out. Or you can also put a kite out, because they'll eat baits on the surface as well. Use a lot of fluorocarbon. They're very leader shy. So if you can use circle hooks and get down to like 40 pound, you'll get bites. You just gotta fight them easy, so that way you don't break them off. But unfortunately, you might want to beef up a little bit, because lately, like Trey was saying, there's been some big yellowfins out of nowhere to show up, and people fight for 4 or 5 hours and end up breaking them off because they're such light leaders. And you're trying to baby them, and you're so excited about it, and eventually they win. So, but that'd be the best thing is definitely use fluorocarbon, very leader sharp. Try to do as many knots as you can. As far as what I mean by that is don't use swivels and long leaders with more swivels and that kind of thing if you're drifting. Now, kite fishing is different because everything's pretty much out of water. But you try to keep it very aerodynamic and not so much hardware to work, because they're very leader shy, and they can see a lot better. All of us can actually. So
If you're doing flat lines with live baits, how long of fluorocarbon?
I would say do a wind on leader of about 10 feet on your spinner reel or TL, whatever you got fishing with, and that way it's let it drift out there, and you probably catch a whole bunch of things on that fluorocarbon. And if you can, use some circle hooks, because that way you have a better chance, because they'll get hooked in a corner instead of sucking it down. So even if you do get a nice fish on or a toothy critter, you hook them in a corner, you have a good chance of catching them.
So bigger fish will fray through that line.
Correct, yes. And sometimes they'll swallow it down because the circle hooks get right in the corner.
Is there any advantage of using live filtered versus live valley hoop?
Yes, pilchards this time of year, they're eating small baits. You're going to catch more in live pilchards.
Thank you.
What exactly is the stainless steel you're using?
Stainless steel.
Oh, it's Manel. It's soft water.
Oh, okay, yeah, soft Monel wire, 60 or 80 pound. The heavier the better, because that way, over time with a 60, if you keep bending it back and forth, you just say, okay, I'll end up breaking it off. But 60 will work fine, but 80 is like the best. It's real soft and pliable, as you can see.
And can you show the connection of the strip to the eye of the hook?
Okay. Here's one that's rigged on mono. There's that little pin, so it goes through there like that. Does that help? Better?
Yeah, you just have to you got to like contrast it. That's the problem.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it hits your shirt and then now it's white.
Okay. That does that help? Whoever asked the question. I see what you mean. Okay. Is there any Tuna was a little easier to do because they're so it's pretty much luck at a draw type thing. Now,
Right.
again, if you see birds, that's when you start fishing small stuff like this, and that's where we're talking about with dolphin fishing for man of war birds. Where you see a school bird, don't go through the middle of them, go around the edges of them, and then you'll get bites. And unfortunately with tunas, you have to put stuff way back because they like to feed in wakes. Believe it or not, if there's a wake back there and a bait's coming through, they love that. So as long as it's back there in the wake, and a wake being not up close to the boat, but the wake's behind you as you're coming around on it. So and they love that stuff.
Do you think you could possibly use the same trolling techniques for kayak fishing?
Well, how fast are you're rowing?
That's what.
You could, if you can row pretty fast, yes. Because a lot of this stuff's made for, I mean, the best speed for everything is 5 miles an hour or better. Anything smaller than that, just the bait lollygags and it just doesn't look right. If you're going to do a kayak fishing, you're better off with live bait. And you can move really slow with that or drift or do whatever.
What's the perfect circle hook brand and size for pilchard?
Okay, so you're looking at Mustad, would be a 6.0. I'm trying to think of that number. It's a black. It's a thin. Make sure it's thin wire because you want thin wire. You don't want anything thick because you're using light tackle that way. If you have thick wire, it doesn't hook real well. The thin wire will hook the fish. It's a 6.0. It's made by Mustad. It's a black hook. I'm trying to think of the number.
Is it the Demon Perfect?
Yes, that's it. There you go.
Demon Perfect Circle?
Yes, thank you. Make sure it's thin wire, not heavy wire. Thin wire.
Any other questions about tuna fishing on Instagram?
What was the question?
If
There
there
wasn't
is
any
any more
question.
questions.
Oh.
I think you touched on the characteristics
Yes.
of a tuna bite. Tunas tend to stay deep, not shallow. It's a quick bite and then a hard run. And that's what I was gonna say. I just mentioned that the characteristics
Yeah,
of tuna bite.
most
And
tunas.
you already said like ease up, bring them in. We
Oh,
are
one
in the
thing
Bahamas,
I
but
will
we
add
are still,
as you're talking is when if you get one on the planer, because you guys fish the planers tight anyway, so the drag doesn't slip out. You're gonna know right away that you get a nice fish on. This thing's gonna start ripping. Biggest thing is is just back the drag up a little bit. Give it a chance to allow the fish to do its thing. The model's gonna stretch. When the stuff's brand new, you can get away with being a little bit tighter because everything is. But as you use it and catch it, I mean, today for example, we caught our limit of kings, and we had 12, 15 other bites, and we had bonitas, we had this big tuna. So over time, the leader starts to wear down a little bit. So just keep it in the back of your mind. Okay, I better back off the drag just a little bit and just take a little more time with it. I mean, right now the sharks aren't bad quite yet, but they're coming. But in any case, you still want to be able to catch your fish. You don't want to sit here and try to force them.
That's the only thing with the characteristics of a tuna bite. And if you think you have one on, ease it up.
What about the blackfins that are sitting down on the wrecks?
The best way to get those is the diamond jigs or the butterfly jigs. And most of the time with those, you have to mark them. I mean, and they'll be in the middle water column. Say, let's say it wrecks 200 feet. They're generally going to be like 100 feet most of the time. You can mark them unless they're up a little higher or just a smidge lower. But the butterfly jigs, even if you try to drop live bait down to them, it's not as productive as the butterfly because they want stuff moving fast. They're in that phase of things moving fast.
They want sport.
You want to kill something.
Yeah, I've noticed going into the summer pattern for, it's going to be a raining season. Tuna you normally catch morning and evening, but
Yeah.
if it's pouring down and raining, and I'm saying mainly just for tournament purposes, because you're going to have to fish till late evening.
Right.
When it's raining, put your tuna stuff out because they'll come back up.
That's right. Exactly. Because they're not shy about that. I mean,
Yep.
it's so funny you say that because, for example, in the Bahamas, okay, people always go, you have to get out early, get out late evening, look for birds. I will tell you from a fact, I don't care what the tide's doing. I don't care what's going on. It could be raining, sunny, or like that. If you got good baits out and you fish a certain area, especially like, for example, Cat Island and places like that, big ones always bite at noon. For some reason they come up at noon and want to feed for like 30 minutes, and that's it. No matter what the tide's doing. I can't explain it. I don't know why, but so my point is that you can catch them in the middle of the day.
Right. But if it's pouring down rain, you're in the middle of a tournament. You can't fly. You can't. You
Right.
don't have kites up.
Exactly. So
Control for tuna.
Right.
They're coming back up.
Yep. They will.
So some advice for guys fishing the local tournament in the offshore anglers mini series. Let's say early morning they catch their couple of kings, and now they need to look for another species. Give me the exact setup you would do to try to catch some blackfins to get on the board. What depth, if you're fishing a kite with live bait, how would you set up?
Okay, so what I would do is that's a good question. Because
People are listening now.
yeah, I know. So here we go. I've always found that tunas, when you're live baiting, will bite up to about 10 o'clock. You know, so if you get your kings real early morning, you still got that hour window basically. But if you don't, it seems like they bite better trolling throughout the day. So then you troll and cover ground and different depths and that stuff. And now if the tournament ends at 3, get that 2 to 3 o'clock window that you can live bait, maybe catch them, but most of the time, I've always found, and I'm sure everybody catches them all day long, different times of day with live baits, but I've always found you catch more of them trolling once that sun comes up a little higher because they start to go down a little bit, and they want something a little more aggressive.
So live
Probably
bait
a little
early.
deeper.
Yes, and
What-
sometimes a little deeper.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
I find that bonitas tend to hit in shallower, and maybe the blackfins are a little deeper, or maybe the blackfins are underneath the bonitas.
Okay.
What is your thoughts on?
Okay, dude. Generally, I've always had where you're right. The tunas will be mixed in with the bonitas, but it seems like when the bonitas are in the 100 feet water, I'm just using numbers for example, guys. 100 feet water, the tunas will be out. They'll be just on the outside of it sometimes. If the bonitas are so thick, you're not gonna get to the tunas anyway, so it just doesn't make a chance. So they'll stay on the outside of them. But that's what I've always seen. I mean, perfect example. We were in there trolling the other day, looking for tunas, and we were catching bonitas and kings, bonitas and kings and bonitas. And then we caught a sail, and then we're like, we'll go a little deeper. So we went out to 180, and we ended up catching 3 tunas. Nothing real big, like up to 15 pounds, but just I think sometimes they get overwhelmed and they want their own little space to travel. Now I could be talking about my butt, but I just feels like so that's what it feels like to me.
They're always a hair deeper.
Yeah, there's a little bit to yeah. And I feel like what happens too is throughout the day, you got to think about this too, is that, all right, there's nobody out fishing at night, as there is there today. So you come out, everything's enclosed on the reef, feeding. Now, as boats travel and do this and that, and this will be another good example for a weed line. I'll throw this out there as well. So whether you're fishing a weed line or the reef all day long, people have been hitting that area. I mean, if it was me standing up, I'd be like, I'm like listen to some guy blowing the lawn. You're going to want to go over here where it's quiet. So they end up moving out a little bit deeper. So don't be scared to go out a little deeper and check things out, because sometimes they'll go out and be in their own little area, especially dolphin fishing. I just thought of this now because everybody's trolling this weed line. I can't tell you times I'm like, okay, so everybody's been up and down this weed line. Nobody's doing it. You're seeing everybody not stop. You go offshore a little bit from them, whether it could be 100 feet, half a mile, and you'll troll on the outside, because sometimes the dolphin will peter out away from the weed lines. They'll wait, they'll do their thing, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, it's time to come back in and look for food, because then now there's less boat traffic. Fish get trained, they get used to hearing all these noises. I mean, everybody knows, like, when you're around over the islands or there's tuna fishing like that, but sharks hear noise, they come right up to the boat. So I feel like throughout time, fish start to progress and learn. Okay, that doesn't sound right. We're very not going to hear, but to answer your question, yeah, generally sometimes I feel like the tunas are out a little too big. So I mean, lately they've been a little close, anywhere from 115 to 200 because of all the bait. But again, you're still trying to find that perfect spot.
So if you're trolling for blackfins, you want that line close to the boat or far from the boat?
Far.
Real far.
Yeah. I mean, everything's
As far as
distance.
you can get it, right?
Yeah, without people running your stuff over. Yeah, and then here's the other thing too: is you don't want it too far, because then the bait doesn't look right. It's like that fine line. And so it's like our boat doesn't have much weight. I mean, it's very clean back there, so I can fish them a little closer than most, and that's the whole piece they can see. But sometimes there's days I have to put it so far back, I look down, it's like hat and spool, especially when you chase birds, for example. You're like, oh my god, and you get fish on, there you go, and you're like, oh my god, I got a big one up, but it's sometimes a small line out there. But yeah, you got to fish them way back there.
Now, if you see the birds crashing, you see the fish jumping, You don't go straight through it,
Correct. You go around it.
like far around it, right?
Yeah, you try to give it a good distance. Because when you make your turn, now you got to think about this, guys, is that when you make your turn, you got to picture what, that sounds good, but anyhow, you got to picture where your baits are at when you make that turn. So if you're making a too tight of a turn and the birds are here, your bait's over there, you want to make a wide turn. So as you make your turn, now your bait's coming through that. So it depends on how far back you put them. So you kind of keep that in mind.
I noticed they dive down a little bit and they'll come back up
Yes.
as they hear your boat going by.
Correct. And
Even
that's,
if you are far away.
that's right. And then I was mentioning about the wake. So when they have a little wake coming through there, sometimes they think there's like a school of fish. They're coming up, popping this and that. And generally, if you guys watch the birds for the tunas, most of the time when they're popping on top is because there's small fish around, which generally there's pieces of weed around. So when there's pieces of weed around, you kind of like, you can almost kind of like judge where they're going. Like, okay, this little batch that's made, they're pop, 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 pop. You go around, mess around, might catch a fish or two. All of a sudden they leave, you're like, okay, where'd they go? You kind of keep looking down the line, you'll see other pieces of weed, and they're going to pop back up because there's little baits and they feed on those. And I was watching this whole year. It was awesome. I'd be like, okay, I get up ahead of them a half mile, and you find them again, and you end up catching quite a few of them. You know?
And you said that when you see birds setting, you know, you think nothing's there. They're sitting there waiting for the tube to come back up.
Correct, yes.
So don't just drive off.
All right, just kind of wait, kind of work the area a little bit. And then the other thing, too, is obviously, that's a good example for man-of-war birds. When the man-of-war birds are down, the fish are up high. The man-of-war are up really high, they're down deep. So, and just kind of keep an eye on them. So is there any- If you can get it, I mean, if you can get in a school where they're popping on top and there's nobody around and you're able to sneak up to them and cast them, that you'd have so much fun. It's hard here because they're very spooky. That would work definitely in the islands or over in far places like Dominican Republic, for example, and that kind of areas because they're not really keyed in on the boats quite yet for that kind of stuff. But I would tell you where that will work is we've seen where the bonitas come up to beach, stuff like that, where the whole school you can cast us up and then have home bonitas.
Yeah.
We've done that many times. That was fun. Fishing like that. So, but is there any other questions for Tuna? Anything I haven't touched on or you guys are thinking? I think I've gotten everything covered.
Bait for tuna,
So,
bugs, any other lures?
as far as
What's your trolling spread look like when you're trolling for tuna?
for tuna, I would have if I'm going like let's call it like 7-8 miles an hour, I'd have 2 planters down with strip rigs. You know, depending on the color of the water, you have different colors. I would have a strip way back, a swimmer up like medium distance, and maybe a feather down the middle, up kind of halfway in between the strip and the valley type thing.
Small stuff.
And that would be my spread. Yeah, because sometimes they're feeding on really small stuff. I mean, there's skirts here that I haven't pulled out, but there's skirts that might be about this big. Okay, really tiny. And people are like, oh, you can't catch. But the biggest thing is that they're feeding on minnows. You gotta remember that, guys. If you ever clean tunas, mostly there's minnows in their bellies. I mean, you'll see a goggle eye every once in a while from somebody's kite. Always minnows though, so you gotta fish small for them. And that's what
I've
they
heard
like.
some captains even trim some of those feathers off to make it even smaller.
Even smaller, absolutely. And you know what else might work around here is they definitely work in the islands, the cedar plug. So just the plain cedar plugs,
No color.
no color, and a real good trick is what I was taught by a commercial guy is that if you happen to have some fish in the box, let the cedar plug soak in all that fish blood and all that stuff because that scent and it changes color, makes the cedar change different color in the water. So that works very, very well too.
And another really, really, really silly tip that nobody ever thinks of. When they do catch tuna or a kingfish or a wahoo, when you're cleaning your fish, open your fish's stomach. And I know it sounds kind of grody, but look at the contents of your fish stomach. See what they're eating. If there's a bunch of squid in there, obviously they're eating squid. There's a bunch of filters in there, obviously they're eating a bunch of filters. We opened up the stomach, the contents of tuna, and there were a bunch of dogs. So just check the contents of your catch. That way, the next day you go out, you know what they're eating.
You guys ever throw a rig squid in the mix?
Occasionally, yes, we do.
You actually control them
A little
on
skipper on
the-
top.
that, and you also control them on the planer. So, but the trick to that is you can't go fast. You gotta go a little bit slower. So
And wash out.
with that being said, that's another little neat, cool trick. Let's see where that hook is at. Okay, so you got this single hook right here. So you take this pin and go through the mantle of the squid and just measure out your hook and put it on there, and then have your sea witch over top of it. And sometimes when they're only like Lisa said, fishing or eating squid or even shrimp, something to that nature, you fish a squid like that, and that'll work great. And sometimes squid strips will work. You get some nice squid strips. It all depends what the feed on.
Do you need to put a bead in there to keep the squid from sliding down?
No. Once you put this pin in here, it kind of sits right on
Oh,
here.
you got the pin there.
Yeah, no problem. It's just, and it looks really good. And I'll throw this out there, and don't be scared to use it. I mean, you don't want giant squids. You want like deep drop squids or like this, which I'm sure they have here at the shop, but about like that, and you'll catch kings on them.
Just enough to get the hook down to the tentacles.
No, just before. You get that we have the tentacles a little
The
bit action.
tentacles give a little action.
And I've caught a lot of other fish on
And again, the single hook.
it. So just a couple of little tricks. So I'm trying to think of anything else that would help.
Anybody have any questions? Pretty good. Covered the live bait, the trolling, planers.
Okay, I have a long question.
Hold on, do I need to sit down?
When you're trolling, are you paralleling the shore, keeping a constant depth, or are you gradually working deeper and then a moving back shower like a zigzag pattern?
Okay, so if you're really, really familiar with the area and you fish here enough, you kind of get an idea of that. Most times tunas, we're talking about tunas. Tunas are going to be generally either on the reef anywhere from 115 to 120, or they're going to be in that 150-foot range, or they're going to be in that 180 to 240 range because there's a ledge out there. So with your question, if you're not sure what's going on, focus on the reef first and do the shot. Because here's a problem is when you cover all those depths in one shot, unless you're staying in one area, you're missing so much fishing area. So let's say you want to cover 5 miles, do your 115 to 130, for example, for 5 miles. Just stay in that depth. No bites. You move out, do the 150 to 200, for example, and then come back. But in that same 5 miles. And then if that doesn't work, you go out to the next side. Because if you start wandering all the way out from 115 to 250, let's say, you're missing the whole area. Unless you stay a mile radius, then you can go in, out, in, out, in, out all day long. If you're just like an hour to fish, you want to fish along the wrecks, for example, then you can do that. But try to focus on staying real tight on a lot of things, because most of the time you're going to see that most of your fish are in the same depths. You're not going to get one that's at 146 or something like that. You're going to generally see you're going to get them like at 150, 120, or the 180. The ledge is at 240, so just before that. So, I mean, I would do hone those depths for a little bit amount of time, and then focus and move around a little bit, and focus on the tides. I will throw a little tidbit of information for tides. Tunas love slack tide. So no matter what the tide's doing, coming in and going out, they love slack tides, especially the big ones. So with that being said, if you know that the area that the tunas are going to be in, you only got a 30-minute window. So fish that area hard.
You fish them on top during slack tide or on bottom?
If you're trolling, then you do your planers but if you're live baiting, you can kite fish or drift, whatever you guys are working on. But you got to really figure out what the area that they're in. And a lot of times they're going to hang around wrecks where the baits are at, of course. And then the ones that you're catching on the reef are traveling. It's not really a spot where they're going to be hanging out, so you'll catch them. That's why trolling is sometimes very productive, because you can cover ground and find that. But now, once they start to settle in a little bit with the bait stuff, you'll find that they're going to be hanging around wrecks, for example, because there's bait. And that's where you'll see a lot. Obviously, when you go out there, you see a whole crowd of people. Obviously, that's why everybody's been doing good. Hopefully, that answered the question.
Now, when you're trolling, do you troll south or do you troll north?
Well, if you want to cover, all right, if you come out Boca Inlet and you want to go to the north, let's say you're going to go 2 miles, then I would troll north and then come back south and troll north. Just those 2 miles, if that's what you're working. So I like to not go really in a straight line. Seems like if you kind of veer just a smidge, kind of cover your ground very well.
Some charter captains, they go east and west.
Yes.
And they kind of work an area like that.
Okay, so the reason I do that is because of the currents. So if the current's strong going to north, because if your spot, let's say this blue blue vice is your spot, okay? The current's ripping to the north. So you're going to want to kind of go like this because it's going to slow you down a little bit so you can cover it. Or if you just want to fish a spot, obviously east and west. But if there's like light current, you want to kind of do this.
You're creating a Z pattern from 120 to 150 between the numbers of 18 and 22 on your latitude and longitude. And then if that's
the
not
area they're
working,
in,
like
yes.
Corey said, you know, you're going in 120 to 150. If that's not working, you're doing 160 to 200 in a zigzag Z pattern, north to south, from your numbers like 26 to 18. 18 being the inlet, 23, 24 being the water tower. So, you know, answering your question on a more basic elementary term would be a zigzag pattern, like Corey was using with his paper towels. To, you know, from those depths between a 120 over the ledge to 180, and then narrowing it down even more so. But you have to take your time. And if you're taking the tide in consideration, this morning the tide or the current was ribbon to the north. I barely had it in gear, and we were doing 7 knots to the north. So even though we were trying to take our time, I even had to zigzag a little tighter. So I was making my zigzag even a little more exaggerated. Exaggerated from my open inlet to my 24 number, which I really like that stretch of land of 18 to 23. I was actually making my turns a much more exaggerated because the tide was going so hard to the north, because I wanted to cover less ground. The current was pushing me so fast north, I was making my turns even tighter. So I was zigzagging even, you know, sharper. Now, if the tide was going slower, then I could make my turns even slower. So you know, definitely pay attention to your current, whether it's going north or south, how fast it's going. And then, like Corey said, you know, your 120 to 180, you know, tack to the north with the current. And then if that's not working or producing, then your, you know, 200, or excuse me, your 180 to 200 tack or 220 tack back to the south, slower or faster.
Then also to add to, if there's current, a lot of current, people are going to ask, oh, do you control with the current or against the current? So depending on just keeping your same speed the whole time, you're going with the current, obviously you're going faster, you're going against the current, you're going slower. Now, if you're getting a lot of bites going with the current, that means that the planers are down deeper, for example, for planer fishing, because they're down, because you're going with the current, so it's step down a little deeper. And if you're going against the current, it means the planer's going to be up higher. So you kind of pay attention on which direction you're going to be going. So if you're going, and a lot of times going with the current, you're going to get more bites because it seems like your planers are down where they should be versus being up too high.
Yeah. Saturday was a little bit of a south current.
Yes,
We only got bites moving south.
correct.
No bites coming back against the grain.
You cover more ground.
That's right. Yeah, that's it. But yeah, once if you, everybody kind of knows the areas with tunas. If you fish out here a lot, I mean, you just know the wrecks, you know, up to the north. There's a lot of, basically you could come out there and have 6 or 7 spots to fish. You know, so if you know those 6 or 7 spots and you work the area really good and you're going to the next spot, just go beeline and straight to it, and then work that area a little bit, and then beeline to the next one. So that's, I mean, it's. But again, if you don't know the area, then yeah, that's the best recommendation. It's kind of tough. And obviously, if there's bait, if you find bait, stay there and work bait.
If you don't know the area and you're not familiar with the martini glass or the mailman or, you know, the blue roof, you just contact Goddess Charters.
Right. And we can certainly show you a few spots that might produce.
Do you ever leave fish to find fish?
No. The only time we leave fish to find fish is because we've got our limit.
There you
So if we got a limit of kings, then we leave them.
go. Right.
We leave and go try to find something else. And what's terrible is that a lot of times when we'll catch our kings, for example, because kings are biting really well right now, you'll catch them very quickly. I just know from experience that if you can stay in there and work that area, you will get that oddball.
Right.
But unfortunately, I
Depending on
go
the tide.
through
too.
50 kings to get that
That's
wahoo
another
or
question.
sail.
What tide do you like? And
I like, Well, if I'm fishing for kingfish, I like the outgoing time. That's my favorite. Wahoos is going to be the end of incoming slack, beginning of outgoing. Tunas are like the same thing. That slack.
A lot of people don't believe in the tide.
I know they don't, and I don't understand why they don't. But
There you go.
the only way I can suggest if they don't believe me or anybody else, go out there and fish 5 straight days, all day solid, and take notes. And now you'll see there is a big deal. Is there
Any
anything-
other questions?
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I can cover for you guys that will help you produce more fish. Just remember, light tackle is best. But I mean, the easiest thing is go a little bit lighter leaders. You know, anywhere from 40 to 80 pounds, depending if you're live bait or trolling, and that'll help you produce more fish as well. So light tackles. Match the hatch to the fish if you can. Well, the reason we're all laughing is we had a vicious dog break through the window here and just about attack us. Now he's over in the corner there, pal. Put him in timeout.
All right, so I guess if there's no more questions, this is it. We want to give a huge thank you to Corey and Mrs. Corey Goddess, Miss Goddess, for coming out. Huge wealth of knowledge. Thank you very much for coming out. So I want to give you like the last bite of the apple. Just tell everybody how long you've been fishing, charters, where you're located, phone number, how to get in contact with you. So just let them all know.
All right. Well, collectively, Lisa and I have fished the water 60 years. And our boat's at Marina 1, which is in Deerfield Beach. Our contact information's on this card, as you saw, goddesscharters.com. Check it out. See both phone numbers there as well.
Upside down. Backwards.
That's a reflection of the mirror.
And we know the area just a little bit. We've Googled a lot of it, but we know a lot of it. Just kidding.
Yeah, so these guys know the area, and they also know the Bahamas. I think you guys do Bahamas trips
Yes,
too?
we do. And we can take you over there and enjoy different kinds of things, bottom fishing, trolling, whatever you guys want to do. It's our passion, and you'll see it in our faces and how we entertain and have a great time. We do snorkeling, diving, all kinds of different things. So we love the outdoors, and our joke is that we're on the water 8 days a year, or 8 days a week. So it's our passion.
Yeah, these guys they don't just love what they do, but they actually follow through and they win major tournaments. I mean, these guys know how to catch fish. So if you guys have any questions, call them up. Bend their ear. Don't be afraid to get on the boat and try to see some of the secrets that they use when they're fishing, because they're going to show you some stuff out there on the boat. So don't be afraid. Call Goddess Charters if you need contact for them. We, of course, have it here at the store, and we're happy to promote their business just like they do with us. Also, anybody that comes in over the next week that watched this seminar, if you say Goddess Charters 15, you will get a 15% discount in the store. So we're promoting that.
Goddess 15.
Goddess Charters 15. Boom, let's go. Come on, right now. So with that, we want to thank Sean, Brent, Offshore Anglers. You want to come up and say something, Sean?